What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another live stream. Good to have you guys here. I can't really see who's watching, who's not watching. Some things are messed up with the software right now. But yeah, guys, what a week's been. What a crazy start to the week, dropping all the way down to 80,000 during the week. Now we're sitting currently at 87,700 bucks for the Bitcoin price. And of course, there's still a lot of work to be done for the bulls to get a trend reversal. And speaking about trend reversal, that's exactly what I'm looking at today. On which time frames, what has to happen for us to flip bullish again. Of course, the largest time frame that we've been looking at last stream, the monthly chart, is still bullish. We're still holding that higher low. And of course, I also updated you about all of that already on X and here on YouTube. Guys, just give you a few more minutes here to get everyone to join, and so we get some viewers here on the stream as well. And yeah, hope you all had a great week, and we have a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to go through all the key levels for Bitcoin. I'm going to go through what we need to look out for next week. There's some key events coming up and a lot more stuff. Right, guys, if you're new to the channel, I'm Pat. This is Crypto Unhyped, the one channel that focuses on the data, not the drama, and follows the price, not the crowd. Right, forgot my slogan almost. And yeah, guys, I see there's a few of us around here now. Let's go slowly start out with the key data to look out for next week. Of course, we know that the government shutdown has delayed a lot of the data. And of course, we also know that the October data for CPI, PPI, retail sales, and all the important stuff is not coming out. It has officially been canceled. So the Fed and us investors are all looking at September data now. Next Thursday or Wednesday, let me actually switch over now to the key screen where we can see all this stuff. And here we are on bitcoineasy.io, and we see that on November 25th, we got the retail sales coming out. The same day, we also get the PPI data. But once again, guys, we're still flying blind in these markets because this is the data for September. October, there's no data being collected, and we will never find out what the numbers were. So the main thing is, I already spoke about it last week, that a lot of the data that is coming out next month, NFP as well as CPI, PPI, a lot of that data is coming out after the 10th of December, which is of course pretty bad because on the 10th of December, we get the FOMC interest rate decision about the rate cuts. And speaking about that, now we know what the key data is next week. We have a big event coming up that is, of course, not economical, not political. It's Thanksgiving on Thursday. So we got the data released on Wednesday, and then markets, US stock markets, are closed on Thursday. So if we're not sitting at support and don't reclaim certain levels in the charts, then of course, that is a huge chance for the bears to bring the price down again. So now we need to look exactly what we want to reclaim, which key levels to get solid support for the Bitcoin price and to have a potential for that key scenario that I've been speaking about the last few days in the last few streams here. And of course, I also updated you on X about it. Before we get into charts, let's have a quick look at this here, what I'm talking about. Of course, there's three scenarios here. Here I spoke about it. We have the scenario of the pessimist, the optimist, and the realist, similar to what I spoke about in last stream already. And for that, we of course all looking at one certain area. We know that in the past, every time we lost the 50-week SMA and close below it, we went to our bear market lows. But we always got a relief rally back towards the 50-week SMA, giving us a great opportunity to exit our positions and to start shorting the market. So of course we expect that to happen again, and that is of course also a pivotal point where if we could, as Bitcoin bulls, reclaim the 50-week SMA and confirm it as support, that's of course one thing that we haven't done ever in history, but that then would look extremely bullish and give us a potential to continue in this bull market. Of course, the market and everything that's been going on has looked very bullish and very promising over the last few months until, of course, the government shutdown started and we were flying blind in these markets, as well as the Fed. Speaking about the Fed and the Federal Reserve rate decision for December, last time we spoke, the odds for a rate cut in December was down to somewhere in the 30% range. I think it was right around 31% in the last video. Now we can see here that the cut by 25 basis points. The chance of that has gone up to 65% according to Polymarket again. And this is of course because there have been some very bullish statements by the vice president of the Fed that he thinks that slow cutting should continue to balance out the economy. So we will see if that will actually happen. As we know from the last statements of the FOMC minutes, we saw that it was very divided. People didn't know whether they want to cut or not. Half of the 12 voting members were basically saying they don't want to cut, and some of them were very dovish in the past. They turned hawkish on rate cuts, and therefore it started to look very bearish, and that reflected in the price. Bitcoin price dropped all the way to $80,000. Yeah, just above $80,000. $80,600 was the current bottom, I think. And yeah, so for now it looks good again as far as Polymarket estimation about December goes, but a lot needs to happen, and for that we of course need to reclaim certain levels, and therefore let's not waste any more time. Quick disclaimer before that, none of this is financial advice, purely for educational and entertainment purposes only. Right guys, now let's go into the Bitcoin chart. And here we have it. We're starting out not on the 4-hourly chart, but on the monthly chart. We want to look at the structure again. And last week when we spoke, of course, we've been focusing here we do always focus on the closing price on these kind of things. And there we can see that we're still holding the prior low. We're still bullish in the structure here, not only on a closing basis, but also on a trading basis overall. Here we can see that we're still sitting above the lows from March, April here. And that, of course, gives us an opportunity here while the structure is still bullish. All the other structures, if you go down into the weekly chart, daily chart, 4-hourly chart, and so on, everything is looking bearish. Bullish structure has been broken, and we're looking for a reversal out of a downtrend back into a bull trend. Sorry guys, been out earlier, I had a couple of beers, so maybe I keep forgetting a few words, but don't worry, we get it all covered. So we can see here that's the only bullish thing in the charts, and I posted about it on X as well, that there's a couple of things that are still bullish, and one of them is also here on the weekly chart. We can see that's the scenario that we've been talking about, that we come down here to that key area. Of course, we drop below it. I told you guys that for me it's likely that we drop down to $84,000. We dropped lower than that. We dropped below the 38.2 here. That was, of course, that key indicator that brought up that number for me, and we can see we're deep into that range here from April, March, but are now looking to close back above the 78.6 on that Fibonacci retracement from April to our current highs here. And then we see the larger Fibonacci retracement, which is of course for the entire bull market. We're still holding these two key levels, and I gave you a really nice visual of how important the 38.2 has been in this bull market so far. And for that we can come back here to X. Let me just find it. Right down here it should be somewhere. There you go. So we see here, if we retrace from the bottom to the current top, so at that point here it was right here, there we can see that we corrected down to the 38.2, then continued up here. Then we take the retracement here, or took it here from the bottom back to that top here, and there we see that we retraced back down to the 38.2. Prior to that, we of course wick below it, but we always close back above the 38.2. Now the same thing again. We take the Fibonacci retracement all the way from the bear market lows to the current top, and there we can see that we're currently still holding the 38.2. Obviously, at that point of this post here, from a few days ago, November 20th, we were still at a higher price point. But nonetheless, the key thing is here that we close back above the 38.2, and that's what we did. We just dipped below it and are now sitting above there. So what we want to see here, of course, is that underside test that becomes all decisive here for Bitcoin and the future for the next few months here, whether this bull market can continue or we continue with that 100% hit rate on the 50-week SMA and go down to a bear market lows. So still the same play, guys. We need to reclaim, first of all, here the 61.8, get back above that key horizontal level here, and then set up here for a potential reversal by getting up towards the $101,000 to $103,000 range. And then we can see that the 50-week SMA is just sitting below $103,000 now. right around 102,800 bucks. Of course, over the next couple of weeks since we started dropping here, and it's a lagging indicator that will turn downwards a little bit more, and then we could potentially line up perfectly here in that cluster of the 50 on that same Fibonacci retracement, the smaller one coming from the April lows to the current top, and then the 23.6 on the larger Fibonacci retracement there, all lining up in the $101 to $100,000 range. And that's a key range also over on the daily chart. Guys, this is of course the bullish scenario. You should go over to X and read that whole post about the pessimist, the optimist, and the realist. And there I gave you the exact 3 scenarios that I see here on the table. I broke it down in the last video, but here you can see it all in written format again, and save it in your notes or something to keep it fresh in your mind. And guys, this is of course then the key area. And let's go down to the daily chart now and see why it's so important. And then afterwards I come back here to the weekly chart and we cover once again my potential scenario here for the bottom for Bitcoin in the bear market. Let's go over to the daily chart now. Here you can see it, and there you will clearly see why that $101,000 level is so important. And here we see the 50 EMA. We see those prior range lows, where of course we are now, if we get a reversal, expecting an underside test. If we get a reversal, becomes clearer in a second on the 4-hourly chart. There's a task that we need to accomplish first to get all the way up here, and there's very strong resistance in that way. And therefore, if you're watching over on X, then you can see the number already, the key area of 92,500. But bear with me, guys. So here, that area, really strong resistance, underside test. We want to close back above that previous range closing lows here, get back above the 50 on the Fibonacci retracement, where we're retracing the entire current downtrend here. And then of course we can see that there just above there is the 50 EMA here and that diagonal resistance line here. And if we get above there, then to really flip bullish on this chart, we need to get above this key level here. Of course, if we reclaim the 61.8, then the 38.2 gets a really high hit rate, and that lines up here perfectly with the diagonal resistance and the 200-day SMA, where of course recently we have seen a death cross here, which then of course brought the price lower. We've tracked it in the past. We have an extremely high hit rate on these formations, on death crosses, not only in the daily chart, on the 4-hourly chart as well, that have had 100% hit rate during this current bull market here. Every time it happened, the price continued lower. In history, in the past, there have been cases where of course that was a bearish indicator for the bottom potentially being in, and we got reversals out of these bearish crossings. But this time again we saw it happened, and right after we dropped to our current lows. So from a candlestick perspective, there's a really interesting thing here in the charts as well. If we look at this massive hammer down here, of course it's a bearish candle. But then if we pull up the volume, also something I already covered on X. So guys, whenever I'm not posting here or streaming on YouTube and on X, by the way, whoever's watching there, it's only my second time that I'm doing any videos on there or any video content. Nice to have you guys as well. So when I'm not posting on or streaming, then I'm posting on X to give you short-term updates, so you always stay up to date with my analysis. And there you can see very clearly that this is a massive here volume spike. I think the biggest since last year actually. We haven't seen here, you can see the last biggest one here was back in December 2024. And the thing is, this can be interpreted as a massive bearish spike. But if we look at that candle, right, we can see it's a hammer. It's a bullish formation. Doesn't matter if it closes bullish or bearish, the color of the candle doesn't really matter. If we understand what the candle means, is that bears have been trying to press the price lower, but bulls managed to take the price up again and close with a bullish formation here. So, and that bearish volume, although it is bearish, right, most of the trading has been done by the bulls here. Most of the pressure is coming from the bulls. That's why here this is a very strong reversal sign. And then of course for this to get confirmed, we see here we had it printed another smaller hammer after. Now if we can print a nice big bullish candle here, then that gives us a chance here to come back up here to this key area in the $93,000 to $94,000 range, to then test the 61.8. If we get above it, then of course, like I said, we get a big hit rate with the 38.2. And then if we can close back above there, then we get out of this bearish structure where of course we're printing lower lows and lower highs. And by definition, to flip this into a bullish trend, we need to break the prior high, close above it and confirm above it. And then we have a shot here to test the previous highs again. In order to do that, of course, we need to flip bullish on the smaller time frames first. And therefore we go down here to the 4-hourly chart. And here you can see it. We're right at resistance now. We're at a key spot right now, and we're approaching the underside of the prior range. So there we have the same thing that we saw before in the $100,000 to $101,000 range on the daily chart. First thing we want to do is we want to reclaim the prior support, which is now of course resistance here. We can see here that we are currently at the diagonal resistance, of course a trend within the broader trend. And there we want to break the resistance now, confirm above it, reclaim that prior low here. And there we can see also the 50 EMA here, which has been strong resistance in this downtrend as well. We're currently now trading back above the 21 EMA, which you can see has been a very, very solid resistance point here in this entire downtrend. We now closed above it, confirmed above it, and are now trying to continue upwards here towards $89,000. 88.8 almost on the dollar is the key level that we want to reclaim here to flip this resistance level back into support. And then here the pivotal point to break out of this downtrend is right at $92,500. So if we start closing above there on a 4-hourly closing basis and continue to confirm above there, then we have that move towards the first of all the $100,000 range. And then if we can flip that into support on the daily chart, then we start of course looking bullish again. And then we're also in the neighborhood of the 50-week SMA, and then that becomes really, really critical territory to really pay attention, because that's where the opportunity lays. If we get that underside test on the 50-week SMA and we find a rejection there, then that's a huge opportunity to exit the market in case you haven't had the chance prior to take profits, and to of course start shorting the market as well, because of course historical data gives us a clear sign that the probability in that scenario is that we get rejection there and continue downwards. Then of course, whenever something has 100% hit rate and we break that, we get it back above, in that case the 50-week SMA, can confirm it as support, then of course the whole script flips, we're bullish again, and then we can start looking for really great opportunities to long the market, and of course also to shift over into altcoins again to really grab the upside there as well. But this is what's on the table right now. We want to flip this key level here, 88.8, then get back above 92.5 on a closing basis to then have a shot to flip bullish as well on the daily chart. And of course, we really want to reclaim support here, at least on the 4-hourly chart, to stay safe in those potential high volatility times when bears really get an opportunity, when people exit their leverage positions in times like Thanksgiving, for example, which is coming up next Thursday, where of course markets are closed and real danger to get liquidated shows up on the horizon, and therefore these positions often get abandoned, and then bears get a huge opportunity to drop the price lower. So we really want to make sure to at least reclaim here support of that prior range on the 4-hourly chart to be safe. Right guys, that's basically it here for the Bitcoin chart. These are the key levels to look out for. I will update you again as well on X so you have it all in written. And of course tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central European time, 6 a.m. Eastern time, is when my new data sheet drops with all the key levels for Bitcoin and all the key macro data to look out for, as well as on-chain data and historic performance data for November for Bitcoin. So keep your eyes out for that. The link will be in the description of tomorrow's stream, and you can always find it as well here at the top of my profile here on X. Just click it, takes you to the link. Right now it's still the data sheet from last week. If you want to have a look and see exactly how it played out, the levels that I mentioned there for Bitcoin and so on, Go check it out. And tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central European time, the new one is live. So you can just click on here, drop your email, and then it will get sent straight to you. Right, guys, that's basically it here for today. Trying to keep it short here, not to take up too much time of your Sunday. And tomorrow I'm back. We're going to cover all the key levels, see how the weekly open comes, and if anything else has happened in the charts. Right, guys, this brings me to the end of the stream as well. Thanks for joining me, especially for everyone who's new on the channel. Really appreciate you stopping by. And if you enjoyed the stream and got some value out of it, then of course consider joining us here in Team Crypto Unhyped by hitting the subscribe button, activate that notification bell, smash up that like button and all that good stuff. And if you want to start chatting with me or just say hi, have a question or suggestion, just drop it down in the comments. Same on X, guys. You can comment on those videos. I don't really know how it works over there. As you can tell, I'm still a bit of a noob here when it comes to streaming. But hey, just say hi wherever you can and I'll get back to you. And I'm back tomorrow. I will drop my schedule tomorrow. Actually, I wanted to do it last week, but I wanted to feel myself in a little bit into this streaming. But for now, what we're doing is actually we're doing Sunday to Thursdays. Friday, Saturday, I'm taking off. I'll still be posting content, educational stuff, and videos instead of streams. So still keep your eyes out for that. There's content 7 days a week. And then tomorrow I'll let you know exactly what time I will be on next week. Right, guys, enjoy your Sunday. Wrap up the week in style. And yeah, guys, I'll be back tomorrow. And as always, happy trading.